Democrats, Kingwood area Democrats, the Spring Democratic Club, and Democracy for Houston. Also joining us tonight are the Teamsters Local 988, Indivisible Texas 02 from the Northeast, and the Harris County Democratic Party. The showtime starts now, and we do start on time. And now, give a warm welcome to our MC for the event. Give a warm welcome to the MC for this event representing the Harris County Democratic Party. She's the chair of the Harris County Democratic Clubs and Awards, Sherry Matula.
First of all, I'd like to tell everybody here thank you for coming tonight. We are honored to have all of you here. If you want to call anybody that you think maybe you should be here, go right ahead. Okay, draw them out. It's a hello and welcome to everybody. And of course, before we start, we're going to be doing the Pledge of Allegiance to both flags, which normally doesn't happen. So if you all will stand with me. U.S. flag over here, Texas flag over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All you school teachers out there. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Now, if everyone will have a seat. Please join me in a moment of silence for those affected by last night's earthquake in Alaska and for those who are still being affected by the many disasters that have touched our lives this year. Thank you. And on that note, thank you for coming tonight. This is an official candidate forum, and I wanted to, first of all, thank the Teamsters Local 988. There's their nice big sign. There's one in here front too, for their help and assistance in providing this wonderful facility for us tonight and for everything else they have done. So let's all give a big round of applause to the Teamsters. Co-hosted by the Humble Area Democrats, the Kingwood Area Democrats, the Spring Democratic Club, and Democracy for Houston. And also, we are very honored, joining us in this effort tonight are Indivisible Texas 2 Northeast, and of course, the Harris County Democratic Party. Okay, you all have the rules if you want to keep up with everything. On the next to last page in your booklet, okay, are the candidate forum rules. So you have to keep all of us honest. There's your little list of what we're going to be doing. During the first half of tonight's forum, the questions are prepared and approved by the host Democratic clubs. A total of 5 pre-prepared questions will be asked. During the second half of tonight's forum, you, the audience, will have a chance to have your questions read. All you have to do is write your question on an index card and turn it in by 7:30. And all of you who have questions, if you want to just, during the time that we're going through the first part of the program, you want to just hold them up. I'll give you a warning of when the 7:30 is arriving so that you'll know ahead of time so you can be working on them now if you feel like you need to ask one of those questions. So, okay, for those of you who were at the CD2 forum that Blue Bayou did, you know that I gave you some facts. So this time I'm going to give you some facts having to do with what is happening in Harris County. First of all, in the last year, we have registered 160,000 new voters. And Vance Ryan told me the other day that we are now up to 2.25 million registered voters in Harris County. Okay. Right now, for all of us who are getting a little gray, we have 150,000 vote-by-mail ballots that are being received this week. I already got mine. Okay, the Harris County Democratic Party funded this as part of our coordinated campaign to the tune of $88,000. The clubs are all calling the people who are receiving these to make sure that they get them in, okay? And we are one of the only counties in the state that pay the postage for you. So I was up in Austin and my mom got hers from Travis County and we had to put a stamp on it. Okay, so we won Harris County in 2016 by 160,000 votes. In 2012, Mitt Romney won the state by 22 percentage points. In 2016, Donald Trump only won the state by 9 percentage points. Okay, my last fact I'm going to give for you tonight is the urban centers in Texas, including Harris County, El Paso, San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, can literally turn the state blue in 2018. And Abbott's $43 million in the bank won't mean anything. Okay, right now, before anything else, I would like to acknowledge all who are in the audience right now who are precinct chairs in CD2. Would you please stand? Thank you for your service. You are the bedrock of our efforts to do everything that needs to be done within the county. Okay, so we're going to start from my right, stage right, okay, and we're going to allow each one of the candidates to give a 2-minute opening, and I would like to, at this point in time, have to direct your attention to Ms. Rupi Nagaranja, who is your timekeeper. Okay, so you need to be watching. She'll keep you honest on the time, and you will be allowed to finish your sentence, and then I will move on to the next person. So as soon as she calls time, we're just moving on to the next person. So your candidates from my right forward are H.P. Parvizian, Ali Khorsani, Silky Malik, J. Darnell Jones, and Todd Litton. Okay, Ruthie, it's time to start the clock. We will begin with Mr. Parvizian.
All right, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Well, as you all know, introduce my name is H.P. Parvizian, Democratic candidate for U.S. Congress in Texas's 2nd District. My father Gus and my mother Katie instilled in me many values, of which hard work, education, respecting everyone, and perseverance. Perseverance is an interesting word when I talk about values, but it came to my father who was driving a taxi in Baltimore, Maryland. He was robbed and shot 4 times over $20, 7 years before I was born. My father survived, thankfully, and he persevered through those injuries. That perseverance paid off because he went on to live the American dream. He raised a family, was an amazing citizen, and created a wonderful oriental red business and real estate business. Now, when I grew up, I actually had to work in his red store. I cleaned the floors. I gave roses out to every mother on Mother's Day. I greeted every client as they walked in. Those values that were instilled in me are the reason I'm successful today. I own 4 submissive dog training franchises. I am on the board of directors for Go Team Therapy Dogs. I also have numerous real estate properties around and manage a couple businesses. Now, I am running for Congress because it's about our children and our grandchildren. My daughter Sophia, about my wife who was unfortunately not able to make it. As your next congressman, I will fight to keep America safe. I will support our veterans, our senior citizens. I will respect a woman's right to make her own health care decisions. I will make sure that we have health care for our children. I will also protect our environment and our animals. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm H.P. Parvizian, Democratic candidate for Congress. Thank you very much. I hope you're ready to vote on March 6th.
Thank you. Mr. Corsani.
Hi everybody, my name is Ali Corsani. I'm a millennial and I'm a scientist and I repair scientific instruments for a living. A little bit about me, a little bit deeper. Biracial, bisexual, biochemist, running for office. It's not something you typically expect. Ooh, you all hear me now? Alright, yes, that's better. Okay, I gotta angle this right. Alright, my name is Ali Corsani. I'm a millennial, I'm a scientist, and I'm running for District 2 for US Congress. Now, if you look back, back in November 2016, we took a really huge hit as Democrats. The Trump election and the supermajority that Republicans have was pretty devastating. But if you look at what we've done in the past year and then some, our resistance is strong and Democrats are stronger than we ever have been. Now isn't the time to be having reactionary politics and just be anti-Trump or anti-this or that. Right now is the prime time for us to push a bold progressive message and reach out to give people a reason to vote in this district. I don't have any political experience. I am an Eagle Scout, I've done community service, and I've been an activist marching on the streets for years and years. And I realized, wait a minute, we the people is about all of us people. It's not about who's the richest or who has the most pedigree, degrees, or whatever. It's about people who care about our neighbors and who can actually create innovative ideas and innovative solutions for solving the problems that our friends and neighbors face. That's why I'm running for Congress. Vote for science, vote for, I have 30 seconds left. I'm trying to think if I should close this up. There's really not much more to say. I've been running since about February and kind of learning as I go along. I jumped in head first. And this has been a really rewarding experience. Our district is ridiculously gerrymandered, but it's been a privilege to meet people from Kingwood to Montrose going west, because that really makes sense. We can enjoy this Republican art piece while we can, get to know each other, and build a coalition to fight this right-wing agenda.
Thank you. Ms. Malik.
Hi, thank you guys for being here today. I'm extremely heartened to see such a large group of people out on a Tuesday night. That means we care, and that means we're going to turn this district blue. My name is Silky Malik, and I'm running for the U.S. House of Representatives in Congressional District 2. My path to a congressional run is a little unconventional. I grew up for most of my adolescence under the poverty line. I was that kid that was on the free lunch program until I graduated high school. I was a recipient of the Texas CHIP program until I got out of college. But somewhere along the line, someone was fighting for my chance at the American dream. And that's why I'm here today, asking to be your congresswoman, hoping to earn your vote. Our representatives for far too long have been all too willing to sell their votes, and along with it, our shot at the American dream. When Paul Ryan gets a donation from the Koch brothers for $500,000 after voting for a reprehensible tax bill, there's a problem with that. I'm running for Congress because this system that allows pay for play to be the way government runs is not acceptable. I do not believe that that is the only way we can be represented. And that's why I'm running, because I want to fight to make sure all of us who aren't lobbyists, who aren't donors, who aren't billionaires, have a fair say in how our government runs, and that those voices collectively are heard in government. We can do better, we deserve better, and I plan on fighting for that when I get to Congress. Thank you.
Mr. Jones.
Good evening, I'm Darnell Jones, and I am running for Congress because at the age of 17, I signed an oath to protect this country and defend it from all enemies, foreign and domestic. Whether it's a domestic terrorist or whether it's a foreign person who's coming to our country, terrorism is terrorism, and our country should recognize that as such. I believe that there is nothing more discouraging than wishing you can give back and not being able to. There's nothing more denigrating than watching your parents struggle after working all week and still not be able to afford to put food on the table. These are the basic necessities of Americans that we as Americans are responsible to provide for each other. We should be there to protect each other. What I plan to do with this is I plan to come in and get a group of people together who are experts in their fields to make sure that we come together with a balanced approach to make sure that every American is taken care of. That includes women who want the right to take care of their own bodies. That means immigrants who are looking for a better way of life. That means the people of color who just want to simply live without being targeted to make money for prison systems. That means people who just want to make a decent wage and be able to provide for their families. I have served in our country, in our military for 25 years, so I know what it takes to lead. I don't need a lesson in that. I also know what it takes to work with other people with foreign policy experience that I have in the military. I also have public policy experience as an equal opportunity director in the military. So I know how to take care of people just because they are people. They are humans. We need to take care of our earth. We need to take care of our infrastructure. And I know how to do that. I plan to work with others to make sure it gets done as your congressman here in District 2. Thank you.
Mr. Litton.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. My name is Todd Litton. I'm Democratic Congressional candidate for Congress here in Texas, too. I was born and raised in Houston, grew up here, and went away to college at Duke University, where I was fortunate enough to meet my wife, Jennifer. Practiced law, went to Texas for law school, Rice for business school. I practiced law, worked in investments for most of the last 15 years. I worked in the nonprofit education space here in the Harris County region. It was after this last election, after the election of President Trump, and my wife Jennifer and I sat down and we talked about what did this mean for our country? What did this mean for our kids? And what on earth can we do about it? We decided right then and there that the way we can make a difference is to flip this seat. Win Texas 2, turn it blue, and flip the House of Representatives. If we could create a Democratic House of Representatives, we can put the U.S. Constitution to work and put a hard check and balance on President Trump. That's what we're working hard to do. That's what we're seeing happen all across this district as we meet with people all over the region. We were out block walking in Humboldt just last week, and people were telling us, I lived here for 14 years. I lived here for 16 years. Nobody's ever knocked on my door. We're going to flip this seat by getting every person engaged in this race. And we will win Texas 2, and we're going to turn this house blue. We got this for two primary reasons. First and foremost, because we believe we need to uplift and reaffirm a core American value, and really a core decent value here in the most diverse city in the country. And that is that what makes our community great and what makes our country great is our people. And it's all of our people, no exceptions. Secondly, we got in this race to replace the broken, divisive partisan lens in D.C. with the lenses of common sense and common decency. Our heads and our hearts. We know in our community, if we use those two things, we can work together and find the common ground to build a better future for our kids and for our country. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. Thank you so much for your support.
And thank you all the candidates for keeping in time. Okay, we're going to be beginning the process of the questions. These, of course, are pre-prepared questions. The first one has to do with what has been on everybody's mind, DACA. This one is on immigration. This weekend we saw DACA put on the table and then moved to the side for 17 days. But the issue of immigration is much larger than just DACA. How America treats people who want to come here to live, work, and pray says a lot about who we are as Americans today. We will begin the questioning with Mr. Corsani. The question now, as phrased by our neighbors, is, if we are going to protect Americans and American jobs, why shouldn't we have a rigorous process for becoming a citizen, and why shouldn't we get a say in who we want as future citizens? You have 1 minute.
Y'all hear me now? Make sure.
No.
Now you can hear me. If you can say no, oh, there we go. That's better. All right. That was 1 minute. Okay, when it comes to immigration, if you really look into what's been going on and why we have undocumented people in this country, a lot of it has to do with a system that has not been acted upon for decades. A lot of our immigration has been backed up since the 90s, and so when people come here seeking to get citizenship status, they just get timed out of the system and just kind of stay. In my view, immigration is what makes our country extremely strong, extremely vibrant, extremely diverse. And I think we should encourage immigration and create a more friendly policy towards immigrants coming in. I'm a scientist. I work with a lot of people from all over the world who come here to pursue academic knowledge, and they stay here and they create great work. This morning I was working in a lab at UTMB that's trying to test maternal drug metabolism. It was really interesting what they're doing. And it was a lab from...
Thank you. Ms. Malik.
In Texas alone, we have 4.2 million immigrants. They contribute over $65 billion to our local economy. In the U.S., we have 800,000 dreamers. Over 60,000 of those dreamers are our fellow Texans. I'm a born and raised Texan, but I am the daughter of immigrants. My husband is a Muslim immigrant from Pakistan. Not only do immigrants contribute to our economy, and in such a way that is hard to deny, they are the fabric of this country. They are our brothers and sisters, our teachers, our doctors, and we have to stand by them. We need comprehensive immigration reform that Congress will fight for, and we need to fight for and stand behind our dreamers, who are as American as you and I. There is no compromise when it comes to the humanity and standing up for people and doing what's right. We're a country that opens its arms to people. That's why my parents came here 40 years ago. And that's why I'm here today, because we open our arms to those who want to come for a better life and in turn make this country better. Thank you.
Mr. Jones.
We are all products of immigrants. I am a product of immigrants. My mother is Indian American, Native American Indian, and my dad is Antiguan. So when we talk of immigrants, we have to remember that they are our families, they are our friends, and we want to make sure that they are welcome, because that is what America, our premise was. We were founded as a melting pot. So we were also founded as a land of opportunity for those who are looking for it. So regardless of whether they are undocumented or not, they should have a way to citizenship here in our country. As far as jobs are concerned, we can keep jobs in America if we use our own natural resources to create those jobs, using clean energy and also our infrastructure rebuilding. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Mr. Litton.
The Houston area is the most diverse area in our country, and most people in our community see that as a real source of strength and vitality. When Harvey hit our community, it hit us hard. But what you saw in Houston was the best of our community and the best of our country. Nobody cared how you loved or how you prayed. Nobody cared where you came from or where your parents came from. Nobody cared how you voted. All people said, get in the boat. Get in the boat. They wanted to help one another. That is what our community is all about. Our community needs to lift that up for the rest of the country to see the strength and the vitality, the diversity it brings to our community. We do need to make sure that we have the integrity of our borders. We do need to make sure we have comprehensive immigration reform that has real processes in place. But the dreamers are people who are working hard to build a better life for their families, for their communities, and for our country. And we need to protect their ability to do so. My child's 6th grade teacher is a dreamer. He's here, but I've got to stop right now. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Mr. Parvizian.
If we look around the room right now, look at the mixture of cultures we have. With cultures, we grow. This isn't a question about immigration, this is a question about humanitarian, people that have lived in this country that are working hard. If anything, the dreamers are the ones that are held the most accountable for their actions. They must be in high school. They must be a graduate. They must hold a job. There's 1,000 of them in our military today that are worried about being deported versus worried about protecting our country. They are not a pawn, and they're not a piece to be used as a pawn. They are human beings that are here to work hard, such as many of us who came over from abroad, or sons of immigrants, or kids of immigrants, or children of immigrants. We are here to do a job, the brain drain that we'll lose. With immigration right now, we have a lot of quality people, scientists, doctors, engineers, that have come in from all nations here and made America what it is today. We are a melting pot of people, and we need to protect everybody that's in the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Just two facts for you. There are close to 60,000 dreamers in the state of Texas, and 2,000 of those dreamers are teaching in our public schools right now across Texas. Oh my. Okay, that leads into the next question. For those of you all who wanted to submit questions, you need to hold them up over the next 5 minutes, and they will come around and pick them up from you. Thank you. Education. Education is another big issue area, with everything from the affordability of college to how to pay for schools and who chooses to teach us. Even the very idea of a publicly sponsored education is being debated. So tonight's education question, as phrased by our neighbors, is, why shouldn't my child be allowed to go to the school of their choice, whether private or public? And we will start with Ms. Malik.
I am currently an HISD substitute teacher. I was also that kid who transferred into the really nice high school because I was not going to it. I know firsthand the importance of quality public education. I would not be here otherwise. Every day I see in the classrooms how important access to quality education is. It is what I believe sets America apart. You want to send your kid to private school? Definitely do that. Public schools will not lose funding just because you want to send your kid to private school. I believe very strongly in sending our tax dollars into public education so that every kid, no matter where they grow up or how they grow up, has access to quality education so that we can forever be the leader in the world when it comes to creating entrepreneurs and leaders. We cannot take public funding and put it into private schooling. It's unacceptable, and that's something I will not ever get behind in Congress. Thank you.
Mr. Jones.
I also am a product of public education, and I believe that public education is very, very important. The notion of wanting your students to go to the school that they want to go to, this is America, it is a free country, and we are already allowed to do that. The notion of public versus private is that public allows each person an equal opportunity to get an education. If you can afford to go to a private school, then go. I mean, that's the way I look at it. No one's keeping you from doing so. However, public education is very important because there are those who cannot afford to do that. When we're talking about equal wages, when we're talking about living wages, when we're talking about things such as that, some parents are not able to give their kids the opportunities that they deserve, and we as Americans should be giving those kids those opportunities. Thank you.
Mr. Litton.
First and foremost, public dollars should be spent on public education, period. There should be no vouchers that go bring public dollars to private schools. We should use public funding to strengthen our public schools. Education is the backbone of each and every person's success in our country. My vision for education in our country is that we have to build a pipeline of lifelong learning. It can't just start in the K through 12 system. That's the state education system. As your congressperson, I'll work hard to ensure that we have public funding that supports early childhood education and development. That we have public funding that supports after-school programs. These 0 to 4 years old and after-school programs are key because most families have all parents working. It's a single-parent family and that parent works. or both parents work. That's the reality in America today. We've got to ensure that every person has access to be able to grow and develop and be ready to succeed in school and in life. And we've got to invest public dollars to do that. It pays off in the long run. That's what we've got to do, and that will be my focus in Congress. Thank you.
Mr. Parvizian.
Universal pre-K and quality education is at the top of my agenda. This includes all communities, including the African American community. We need to make sure that African American communities also have higher education and involved in the STEM education system as well. We also must not forget about our teachers who are providing this education. Everybody needs the ability everybody needs the ability to get good education, but we also need to protect our teachers who've been defeated and deflated through the new tax bill. We need to ensure that our teachers, we need to strengthen Texas's labor unions. We need to protect our teachers. That way they can go out and ensure we give high quality education to all students. Because it's my teachers that have brought me to where I am today, and many of us can look back and think about the ones that inspired us. We need to make sure every person, no matter what your status is afforded top quality education. Thank you.
Mr. Corsani.
You know, the good thing about public education is that in a public school system, no one is turned away. It doesn't matter if you have a disability status, it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, or wherever you come from, what you want to do when you grow up. Public education is for everyone, and it should always be for everyone. The focus for my campaign platform for public education emphasizes a bottom-up approach. We can't just talk about fixing education. A lot of people have done that before. What we need to talk about is fixing classrooms. What I mean by fixing classrooms is giving teachers and students the resources they need to have a really enriching education life. That includes early childhood education. That also includes public funding for public colleges and universities. It's about time that we do that, so people actually have the training they need to have careers for our 21st century economy. I've been to public schools and private schools, and the biggest challenge for my family during the recession was paying for college. My brother went to his public school, didn't have any scholarship monies, so didn't wind up getting a degree. And I did, went to private school, had a scholarship.
Thank you. Texas is a right-to-work state. There are no unions in Texas as far as education is concerned. There are teacher organizations. 2 are affiliated with national unions. We have no rights at all. We have no continuing contracts. Our contracts are about as good as the paper that they are written on. We do have the right to grieve, that's by federal law, but under no circumstances has the state legislature allowed us at any time collective bargaining. On that note, I need to do happy facts, don't I? Yes. Okay, we are now into the topic of health care. Healthcare in America has been something of a hodgepodge. That's the truth. Okay, private companies sell insurance and profit from managing insurance pools. Nonprofits try to offer services, but sometimes are told they can't share in government money set aside for nonprofits because the services they provide are controversial, even if they are legal. Employers often have a say in what services they will cover in the plans offered to their employees. We know that's a real fact. Sometimes even non-religious companies make decisions about health care plans they will offer based on their religious beliefs, like Hobby Lobby. And sometimes people argue that Americans simply don't have a natural right to health care. In other words, you can only get care if you can afford it. So the question, starting with Mr. Jones, why should we provide health care for all?
I believe that health care should be a right. Health care is a right. And I am a strong supporter of Medicare for all. It is a system that has worked, and it is a system that we should extend to every American so that we don't have to worry about the individual insurance companies or anyone else determining what we have to pay for our health care. It is just because we all have the same access. I have to say that there's nothing more frustrating than the feeling of helplessness that you have when you watch a sibling die from not being able to have adequate health care simply because her life wasn't valuable enough for the hospital to keep her in the hospital. That's my situation. My sister passed away because her health care was inadequate, so I believe in Medicare for all. It's a personal experience for me. Thank you.
Mr. Litton.
Why we should provide health care for all is a question. You know, when we look at this, again, this is where I think it's a perfect way to use that common sense and common decency. Use our heads, use our hearts. Every person is worthy of our love and respect. Every person is worth having the chance to lead a healthy and productive life for their families, for their communities, for our country. That's what I believe America is about. When we talk about providing each person, every person, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, it includes the ability to be healthy, and to do that, to be able to provide for your family and your community as well. That's the bottom line, using common sense, using common decency. We provide health care for everyone right now. It's just provided in the emergency rooms. It's provided when care is too late, when people are in dire need of health care and they're very, very sick, and when it's too expensive. So get common sense. We've got to get preventive care, quality preventive care for each and every person. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Parvizian.
Healthcare should not be run like a business. It is a right. It's not a privilege. 1 in 2 Americans today have a pre-existing condition that will negate them from coverage. 1 in 5 Hispanic child has no insurance. 1 in 7 African American children are without insurance. We need to ensure that every American has the ability and opportunity to have insurance. Every child must have insurance. Because as human beings, as we grow into society, we cannot grow if every parent is worried about an illness that might take them out and not be able to afford the help they need and the health care they need to provide for their family. Or a parent at work is worried about their child suffering and cannot give the ability to move forward and is taking time off. We need to protect, because the children and our citizens, their viability and their life are important for us, so we must take care of the insurance. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Corsani.
I support Medicare for all. We already have socialized medicine in this country. It's called Medicare, Medicaid, and the VA, and it works pretty darn well. The problem with Medicare in this country is that we pay twice as much for our socialized medicine, and it only covers a certain percentage of our population. If we just started being smart about it, thinking about, wait a minute, preventative care is cheaper than emergency care. Wait a minute, we can negotiate prices with vendors. Wait a minute, a human life maybe shouldn't be for profit. It becomes pretty obvious we should support Medicare for all. And that's all I have to say about that. Good purpose.
Ms. Malik.
No one should have to start or resort to a GoFundMe account to pay for their child's cancer treatment. We should not be calling Lyft and Uber to get to the emergency room. It's ridiculous. I support universal health care, Medicare for all, single payer, whatever we want to call it. I believe the 160th Congress is perfectly primed to make an argument for this fight and make it happen. Since it was suggested in the 1940s, we have more support for the idea and the implementation of universal health care than we have ever had in this country. No one should face medical bankruptcy. I was able to get surgery in high school thanks to the Texas CHIP program that didn't bankrupt my family. Without it, it definitely would have. We need to take that off the table and ensure that people are not one ER visit or one catastrophic emergency surgery away from going bankrupt. It's ridiculous and we need to fight for it, and I think we can make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Another little factoid combining healthcare and education. Half of all school district employees in Texas are called support professionals. That includes your bus drivers, cafeteria workers. They are making very, very little money. They're in every single district in Texas. There are some that you will find who are working negative because all they are doing is paying for their insurance. Sad. Another sad fact. I'm sorry. I know, I need a happy one. Okay. Next is the environment. During Hurricane Harvey, we saw a plant in Crosby, Texas. Here in our congressional district, almost explode when chemicals were not maintained at a cool enough level after power outages. I have a husband who has worked in the chemical industry for years, and he was looking at that going, oh my God. In Harris County, we saw several plants close at the last possible minute using shutdown procedures that violated laws on release of pollutants. Governor Abbott waived the rules and let these companies off. In fact, Texas currently prides itself in being business friendly precisely because it allows polluters and lower safety regulations on certain industries. Good old TCEQ. Question is asked by our business-friendly neighbors, and this will go to Mr. Litton first. Why should we stifle businesses with burdensome regulations on things like shutdown procedures for plants during emergencies, where pollutants are released intentionally?
Well, one person's regulation is another person's protection. And we've got to understand that protecting our people and protecting our communities has to come first. There's no doubt in my mind that protection of our communities from environmental hazards takes precedence over a business being able to operate at prime economic expansion or whatever it's operating at. We've got to be more proactive and more protective of our people. If we're not taking care of our people, then we can't work and be productive to begin with. So, we have to have a balance of sorts. We don't want to have too much quote-unquote red tape. It stifles business, it stifles innovation, but we have to understand that once the other side of regulation is protection, and it's protection of our people first and foremost that we need to uphold, and as your congressperson, I will respect and protect. Thank you.
Mr. Parvesian.
The environment, where we dump chemicals, how we take care of the people. Everything we do right now, we are renting this earth from our grandchildren. At the end of the day, it's about our children, it's about our grandchildren. We have to think about the long-term effect. We have to think about the long-term dollar, not the short-term dollar. When I talk about strengthening labor unions in Texas, this is exactly one of the reasons why. We need stronger unions so we're not going for businesses that are cutting costs, bringing in labor that doesn't question if they're illegally dumping or not illegally dumping. We need to strengthen these unions so we can protect our workers. We can make sure they're getting family living wages, but also allow us to monitor these corporations, these businesses, not to make an extra dollar off the back of affecting every single one of us in here.
Thank you. Mr. Corsani.
I'm a scientist. I work with environmental regulations every day. Make you know for sure I'm a scientist by the end of the day. One thing I've noticed, I work in a lot of different labs across the state and across multiple states, is when you have a workplace that cares about your safety, the overall culture in that workplace is way much better. I went to a lab the other week that actually had regulations on their toaster. It said, do not allow your children to come work with you near your toaster. But they really had a great sense of pride in their work and a great sense of safety that they're doing, that they're being taken care of by their company. Whatever is great for business isn't necessarily great for our lungs and for our brains and for our bodies. If you look, there's a Twitter bot that tracks every time there's a benzene release in the east side of Houston. And it's about every 4 or 5 hours. So, we're a bit later, we go outside today. We need to really think about all of our people, about everyone in our communities who are affected by this.
Thank you. Ms. Malik.
Clean air and clean water is nonpartisan. No one wants crap in our ocean. That's a non-starter. I believe we can make some headway into making sure that we are again the leader when it comes to climate change by Congress taking a step forward and advocating that science is real and the science behind climate change is real. We must believe science, because it's science. Additionally, I believe we can update the Clean Air Act. It's from the 1970s. That could go a long way to giving us something tangible to give companies and corporations a way to anchor what they're doing. That's the best way forward for the immediate future, and I think if we work hard enough, we can get back to where we were prior to this current administration. Thank you.
Mr. Jones.
My campaign believes in putting people over politics. When you put people over politics, you put your earth over business interests. I believe that if we stop electing people who have wealthy corporate interests, then we also start to put people over politics, and we don't have to worry about taking away the protections that help us and our earth. So I believe that it all boils back down to the reversal of Citizens United, which I plan to work very hard to do once I get into Congress, because it'll help us not only with clean energy and being able to influence our corporate world. It would be able to ensure that we put people over politics in every decision that we make, and not have to worry about corporate dollars overriding us. Thank you.
This is a little better. Okay. In Pasadena, in LaPorte, and in the Bay Area, there are citizens advisory panels that meet once a month. And I'm sure there are a couple more in a couple of other areas, but these are the ones I know about, that have business leaders, like in the Bay Area, BayCap. It has business leaders, plant managers, plus citizens that meet once a month to discuss everything from releases in the air to what is happening. And since they established these, it has really gone a long way in different areas, industrial areas in Houston or Harris County, to really try and get a dialogue going between the people who live in the area and the people who have plants in the area. So we do have those citizens advisory panels. Okay. The last question is in the form of a general interest question. The role of a freshman in Congress. As a freshman in Congress, you will be asked what committees you would like to serve on and why. You may or may not be given committee assignments you want during your first term. Probably not. But the committees you would ideally like to serve on will occupy much of your time and will therefore help define your role in Congress. This will go first to Mr. Parvizian. If you had your choice, what two committees or subcommittees would you serve on and why?
If I had my choice, I would tell you that education would be the one committee I would want to be on. I would also look at the military and look at the military budget, the military committee as well. For me, those two committees mean quite a bit. What I will not do is, as most freshman congressmen are, it's about raising money. It's not about the committees, it's not about anything else, but the first thing I'm told is, you better raise X amount of dollars. My first job when I get up to Congress is also, as a freshman congressman, to ensure I get on the right committees to make that difference, and ensure I set up myself down here so that I will be accountable and available to each and every single constituent and citizen in my district to ensure that every phone call is answered, that every concern is met, so I can be the congressman for each and every one of you here.
Mr. Corsani.
It's a pretty good one. I would like to seek to serve on some type of environmental committee, anything related to science and research grants. If you look at Congress, there's 435 members, of which only about 5 of them have any type of scientific background. You have a lot of law, you have a lot of business, you have a lot of career politicians who just run over and over and over again. We don't have a voice that can say, this is good science, this is fake science, this is where we need to move forward. A lot of our innovation today is a result of research that's kind of done, they call it work for hire. You do your research, you get your grants, and you innovate amazing things, and then we don't really see a lot of follow-up there. If you support science, you can support scientists and creating new solutions for our future challenges.
Thank you. Ms. Malik.
I would like to serve on the Education and Workforce Committee and also the Ethics Committee. Those are two committees I believe are very important to the future of this country and protecting our democracy. The role of a freshman congressperson is something I've been thinking a lot about. I believe my job is to be here in Houston, building up the leaders of tomorrow. One person is not the savior for any state or any country. We must work constantly to create the leadership and the leaders who are going to be stewards of this democracy. That means holding town halls every quarter. That means making sure that the students in underprivileged schools have access to their congressperson and have access to new internships and new ways of getting involved. It means being here as often as I possibly can, engaging the community and making sure that we're turning out the vote, not just on presidential years and not just at the midterm years, but in primaries. Getting people involved is the only way we're going to make sure another Trump does not happen. Thank you.
Mr. Jones.
If being a freshman in Congress is anything like being a freshman in high school, you're there to get on people's nerves. I believe in putting people over politics, therefore I want to make noise in Congress. I want to make sure that we implement things, that I put noise behind things like term limits. I want to be on the Ways and Means Committee so I can promote a way forward for our Social Security programs, to make sure that people have a future in taxation and tariffs and those types of things. To make sure that they don't get out of hand for us to be able to live as Americans. And lastly, I just believe that I want to work on the Veteran Services Committee because after serving 25 years in the military, you want to make sure that you don't see homeless veterans out there. You want to make sure that you take care of veterans' families. Veterans don't serve alone, they serve with their families. So we want to make sure that those things are there. And as a member of the Veteran Services Committee, or Veterans Affairs Committee, I think I can make a difference there. Thank you.
Mr. Litton.
As a freshman congressman, I would work hard to make sure that I'm learning from our constituents about what their needs are and then being a voice for each and every person. We've done that since we got in this race last May to bring home Ted Poe. We've been out talking to people all over this district, and again, what I'm hearing are people concerns about education, future careers for themselves and for their children, and also dire needs for infrastructure, dire needs for support after Harvey. We still do not have $1 appropriated from the federal government to support us from Harvey. So for that very reason, for the reason that it's the needs of our community that I hear again and again, from Kingwood, Humboldt, Atascocita, over the Spring Branch, down to Montrose and the Rice area, and everywhere in between, I would serve on the Education and Workforce Committee to build that pipeline of lifelong learning to support every person's development. And I would be on the Appropriations Committee to ensure that we get the money and the funding we need, not only to rebuild after Harvey, but to prepare and protect our community for the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I don't know about you, but I'm about ready to have someone that I want to be proud of serving from Texas in the different congressional districts across Texas because I'm really, really upset every time I have to look at Louis Gohmert. I don't know why. I mean, he is an absolute joke, okay? I have fifth graders I know that are a lot better off than he is. Okay. We are going to begin the lightning round. You will only have 30 seconds to answer these questions. Okay, and we will hopefully we'll be able to take all of these because you all are on time. But I want to start with a very special one first. We are very honored tonight to have representatives from the Airline Pilots Association. Would you please stand? Stay standing. I would like for everyone who is a member of a union to please stand. Thank you very much. Okay, the first question that we'll be starting as soon as I finish reading this with Mr. Corsani. This has some information that everyone is going to want to listen to. United Airlines employs over 5,000 people in this district, including 1,165 pilots. In recent years, 3 airlines from the Middle East have been aggressively stealing flying from United by capacity dumping seats into our markets, including Houston. The Emirates, Qatar, and is it Etihad? Etihad, okay, I'm close. Are state-run, state-financed airlines that use billions of dollars of free money from their governments to fly into Houston at a loss just to steal premium traffic from United. President Obama allowed this because these airlines buy Boeing aircraft. So far, President Trump has allowed this to continue, and here is your question. As a member of Congress, how would you help us correct this violation of our Open Skies Agreement? Mr. Corsani.
Really interesting question. You know, I'd like to have some from the airlines here. That's a long way, long career for that to happen. When it comes to protecting our skies and protecting our businesses locally, we really need to think and have a representative who can advocate for our local communities, which would mean standing up to, just 30 seconds, not even worse. So, yeah, I would support regulations that would allow our home-based airlines to be more competitive.
Thank you. Ms. Malee.
We're all tired of politicians, Democrats and Republicans, who cozy up to corporations. We need to make sure that we put our companies first, and that needs to be a priority for anyone who makes it to Congress. We cannot allow regulations that are not in place to ensure that our companies get the first chance at this sort of business. Thank you.
Mr. Jones.
I'll second that. I believe that we should definitely put the interest in American jobs and American companies and the American people. We got to put people over politics, and if that means that we have to make it increasingly difficult for other countries, airlines to come in and take people and seats away from United and other airlines, American airlines in this area, then we must do that. We have to work together to figure out a way to make sure that we protect the interests of Americans first.
Thank you. Mr. Litton.
The question is around something we call cabotage laws. So what we're looking at and doing is, we believe there's real value in not only protecting American businesses and American pilots and their jobs from an industry standpoint, but there's also a security standpoint here. There is real value in us having a strong airline industry, just like in the seas and ports, we have something called the Jones Act. It does the same kind of thing. We've got to protect these industries for vital, not just our business and commerce, but our security. And that's the reason we do these things, and we should support our pilots and support our airline industry and do that here in the United States.
Thank you. Mr. Parvizian.
First of all, I fly United everywhere, including overseas. It's my favorite airline to fly. I am a platinum member of United, so I'm kind of biased here. But as somebody who's been in the airline industry, as a family and friends, I want to get his pilot license, skydiver for many, many years, and I'm around a lot of pilots around there. We do. We need to fly America. We need to protect our pilots and the airports and everybody else come in. The one thing I would say that I would need to do is I'd like to sit down with the pilots themselves, and I'd like to hear what your ideas are, what your thoughts are, so we can come together with a solution to create, so we can take a stance together. We'll be strong.
Thank you. And of course, we staged the plane flying over us. Okay. The next question will start with Ms. Malik. This is on a very sad note. There was another school shooting today, this time in Kentucky. As our United States Congressperson from Texas, what will you do specifically to strengthen gun safety without turning off your own constituents from your campaign?
Before my father passed, he was an avid gun collector. He spent my whole life around them. but I can also recognize the need for stricter gun rules to make sure that people are not skirting background checks, that they are not able to get around these checks that are in place to ensure that the next mass shooting is not allowed to happen. It's not an easy conversation to have, but it's something we have to keep fighting for and keep working to bring both sides to the table to let them know, hey, we don't want to take away your guns, but we need to figure out a way to keep this from happening again.
Thank you. Mr. Jones.
As a person who spent 25 years in the military and also as a responsible gun owner, I believe that that we have to have background checks for people. We don't know what people have gone through. And the reason why we didn't have access to our weapons in the military when we weren't actually using them was because they're not safe enough to keep in our presence. So I believe that strict, or maybe not so strict, but definitely background checks on gun laws, and also getting coalitions together to design good policy for gun laws is the best thing to do.
Thank you. Mr. Litton.
We need to implement common sense gun safety measures, period. 3/4 of Americans, Republican and Democrats, support background checks that would keep people from terrorist watch lists and no-fly lists, keep people with mental illness, from being able to purchase guns. Let's start there. Let's use common sense and common decency, find that common ground, start to build on that. That's how we move forward. That's how we can protect our schools, how we can protect the public from gun violence. We have to act. We have to bring people together. Most people are ready to do it. Let's do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Calvisian.
I fully support the Second Amendment. I support hunters and I support sportsmen. But I agree we need to have a universal background check when it comes to weapons. I've lost an aunt to suicide over mental illness. It's not anything any family, but when you come down to it, when it comes to a child, we have to stop fighting over the weapons, but let's sit down and talk. It's a child's life and a person's life. That's what we need to use. They are not pawns. And both sides have to stop using the kids as pawns, and let's come up with a solution.
Thank you. Mr. Corsani.
I personally don't like guns, and I'm still waiting. It's been over a year, and Obama hasn't knocked on my door looking for my guns. There's one thing I know about gun owners is they like to buy gun stuff, just to spite Obama still. And what I believe in is that we can lift the ban on researching gun violence and also enact background checks as well as new technology security features to our guns to prevent these types of issues from happening again. Currently, research isn't, when people talk about mental illness or mental health, it's illegal to study gun violence.
Thank you. The current statistics show that approximately 60% of all gun deaths has to do with suicidal attempts, with people taking them, with the people who are committing suicide taking other people with them. I'm sorry. I know. You can imagine, my mind goes all the time now. Okay, this next one we'll start with Mr. Jones. What are your thoughts about getting resources to Houston to recover from Harvey?
Definitely, with Houston being in an area that is close, now prone to coastal flooding due to climate change and also poor maintenance on canals, we definitely need to be able to appropriate funding for this area, more funding. However, the rainy day fund in our state, I think we should probably try to get some state influence with regard to making sure that that is more so for natural disasters rather than just oil and gas interests. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Litton?
As I said before, that appropriations is a key priority for our community. We have got to work hard to bring those dollars down here, not only to do the work we need to build a third reservoir, protect residents in the north and west, to support the bayous and the various watersheds and help them flow better and protect our communities. That is a key focus for our community. We've also got to work across counties, states. You go Lake Conroe, we haven't seen the Center River Authority in the Kingwood area up here in the north. That came from the state, Adams reservoirs in our district. I gotta stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cardesian.
spending more money on protecting our nature-based infrastructure, the prairies, salt marshes, everything out in Katy is going to help us with the future flooding. We have to look at improving our infrastructure here. We want to put together a jobs leadership team comprised of Republicans and Democrats, labor leaders, students, attorneys, everybody that wants to come together and let's create jobs and let's work on coming to a solution with the city on the infrastructure. And that way, not only are we fixing the infrastructure for the future, we're going to create more jobs here at home.
Thank you. Mr. Corsani.
I'm still this one from the Green Party, but don't worry, I'm still a Democrat. There's a principle called the Green New Deal. If we invest in infrastructure focused around mitigating climate change, as well as mitigating the current effects, as well as preventing the future effects of climate change, we can create jobs for people from blue collar all the way to lab coat. We need to invest in futuristic, forward-looking solutions. That means getting our academics involved. That means getting our workers involved. And rebuilding the infrastructure we have right now and creating jobs in the process.
Thank you. Ms. Lee?
I believe that the creation of a congressional delegation similar to the one after Hurricane Sandy would go a long way to ensuring not only are we expanding the role of the federal government in securing these funds, but making sure that we are using these funds appropriately. That is the best way going forward, and that's definitely something I plan on fighting for and making sure happens. Thank you.
Thank you. If any of you all have a chance, there's a really good article. It was in USA Today recently, and the Houston Chronicle also ran one. I live out in Clear Lake, and we took a golf course and made it into an enormous retention area. And literally, we had hundreds of homes that flooded in the last major flooding that we did, and we had only a few that flooded this time. It's a wonderful community project, and you might want to check it out to see what we did. Okay, see, that was happier. Okay. Okay. This one will go to Mr. Litton. Do you feel you understand net neutrality, and what is your plan to restore it?
Yeah, I think net neutrality is key. We've got to ensure that everybody has equal access to internet and broadband services. There's an interesting move by the governor of Montana recently to ensure that every person who contracts with that state, every provider, provides net neutrality within the state. I would look to our local communities within Texas too, and I would look to probably not our governor, but to try to get our changes here in our state where we can start to do that, and we ensure that each person, every person has access to the internet in equal way. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Parisian.
Transparency is very important to begin with. These meetings they had behind closed doors about net neutrality is unacceptable. We must repeal this, we need to reenact net neutrality because every person needs that ability to have the internet service, but also at the same time, it's not about the dollar amount. They may not affect it now, but in the future, it's opening up so many avenues that we can be stopped or deterred or charged more just to have our basic uses today. Thank you.
Thank you. I know this lightning round's a little quick. Okay, Mr. Corsani.
So I support restoring net neutrality. In a lot of countries, we take inspiration from Germany and other European nations that actually guarantee high-speed internet as a right. We're the most educated society that humankind has known. That's thanks to the internet. We can know anything just looking at our phones right now. Look at my website. I really support net neutrality because that allows for smaller businesses to be able to compete and be able to have an influence in the wealth of knowledge that exists in the internet.
Thank you. Ms. Malik.
I believe so strongly in keeping the internet free that I went to City Hall a few weeks ago to argue on behalf of why it is imperative that every city and state works hard and fights to keep the internet free. I am heartened by the 30 votes the Democrats have in Congress to fight against the FCC's repeal of net neutrality. I believe that this is an issue that young and old have gotten behind, and I don't think that the repeal is going to stick. And that's Hopefully it's done before I get to Congress next year, but if not, it's definitely something at the forefront of my agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jones.
I am totally opposed to the removal of the protections that were implemented during the Obama tenure. I think that if you put people over politics, then you wouldn't allow corporations to manage our internet or determine what we are able to see and not see based on overcharging the other companies to use the internet or to be as free as they want. So I believe that I would definitely support net neutrality.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to take a short friction break. We're going to rub our hands together real hard, create a little heat, okay? Put it around your arms, around your face, wherever. It's cold in here. Okay. The next one, we'll start with Mr. Parvizian. How will you protect women's rights, especially reproductive rights?
Again, I fully support a woman's right to make her own healthcare decisions. Women's right is a big one for me. 1 in 4 girls are sexually abused before the age of 18. I have worked with the Children's Assessment Center. I've done their auctions for 5 years running, raising money for the center. Now, over 18, women are getting abused sexually when they go to work, and that is unacceptable. I have a 3-year-old daughter. I have a wife. And I would never want her to grow up in an environment like these women have grown up today. No more. Accountability for every single person.
Thank you. Mr. Corsani.
In addition to equal pay for equal work, I've always been unequivocally supportive of pro-choice. I almost go so far to say this, in the same way that I am pro-chemotherapy for cancer, healthcare for whatever you have an ailment, I would say I'm honestly pro-abortion. Every time you restrict reproductive rights, there is a direct correlation between maternal mortality. Texas currently has the highest maternal mortality of the developed world, and that's just unacceptable. We need to protect our women and give them the rights to make their own healthcare decisions.
Thank you. Ms. Malik.
Learning about Roe versus Wade when I was 13 is how I found out I was a feminist. I will never stop fighting to protect Roe versus Wade. I am pro-choice. There are no qualifiers, there are no ifs, ands, or buts. I will forever, whether I'm in Congress, out of Congress, whatever I do in my life, I will always protect a woman's right to choose anything she wants to do with her body. Thank you.
Mr. Jones.
I don't believe a woman's body should be legislated. I think that I believe that women should be allowed to protect their own bodies and do what they feel is right for their bodies. I believe that women's rights are American rights, and we should put people over politics and never allow politics to try and determine what someone else does.
Mr. Litton.
I'm 100% pro-choice. I believe that government should stay out of the doctor's room, and a woman should be able to make the decision that's safe and legal for herself if she sees fit. I believe government should stay out of our bedrooms. Women should have access to contraceptives. I believe the government should stay out of our bathrooms. If we're trying to legislate who goes to what bathroom. We've got to keep government out of these things. These are rights of personal freedom. You have to fight to protect these, and I will as your congressperson. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Houston is ground zero for the pro-life movement in the Catholic Church because Cardinal DiNardo is head of all the bishops advocating pro-life stances. Just to let you know. Yes, I know. Thanks, Carolyn. Okay. There are 2 questions in here, okay? This will go to Mr. Corsani first. What is your stand on gender pay gap? And if you were to be elected, what is your plan to handle this issue?
So as I mentioned before, I support equal pay for equal work. And how do we go about enacting this? We need to enact legislation that guarantees equal rights for all people, regardless of gender, sexual preference, sexual orientation. We already have protections against racial discrimination, national origin, and it's only natural that we protect people regardless of their gender and give equal pay for equal work. The gap is astounding, especially for women of color, and that's just unacceptable.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
I think first and foremost, people in Congress acknowledging that the pay gap is real and exists would go a long way to ensuring that we can fight to make legislation like the Equal Rights Act happen. That's what we have to do. Make sure that there are no qualifiers to who should be getting paid what, and that we can't discriminate against people and have legislation that allows us to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
I believe in putting people over politics. Again, diversity is our strength and inclusion is our goal. I believe that everywhere in our country is diverse except Congress. Therefore, we need to make sure that we have people in Congress who can represent all of us so that we can make sure that we don't have to worry about things like gender pay gaps. Thank you.
Mr. Litton.
Women are paid about 78 cents on the dollar for men for the same work. African American women are paid about 64 cents and Latino women about 55 cents on the dollar. If we paid women $1 worth of wages for $1 worth of work, we would lift millions of women and families out of poverty. What about common sense and common decency? This is exactly the area we need to focus on. We could lift people out of poverty just for paying them what they've earned. We have to do that. We have to ensure that works. I will fight to do that as a congressperson for Texas too and for every woman in our country.
Thank you. Mr. Parvizian.
I will continue to fight for equality for all. I don't know how this is even a conversation right now. Women, everybody, it doesn't matter. I want Houston to be the first city with a zero disparity between any race or any culture. I don't care who it is. We need to make sure everybody's getting paid the exact same. Not just that, the ability to take time off to be with their children. How is it that every other country in the world has longer paternity and maternity leaves? We need to be able to offer it. Our company offers 3 months paternity and maternity leave for our staff. Thank you.
Don't even think about going away. I've been looking through these questions. These are really hard. Y'all did a great job as an audience, okay? I'm glad I'm not answering these questions. Okay, this one will go to Ms. Malik. How important is it to you to advocate for and pass paid family leave, paternity/maternity?
Extremely important. We're one of the only developed countries that does not offer paid maternity leave to mothers or paternity leave to fathers. I think that's the nicest way of putting it. It's completely ridiculous, and it's definitely something that we need to make sure our Congress is fighting for. And that's definitely what I plan on doing. Thank you.
Mr. Jones.
Scientific data shows the importance of a mother bonding with her child at birth. Also, it shows the importance of a father being able to bond with their child at birth. So I believe that we definitely have to make ways in Congress for our companies to be able to provide the appropriate amount of time off for both men and women after childbirth. I believe that it's only fair that they all be able to spend time together, and we pay enough into our insurance companies that we should be able to have money set aside for that also.
Thank you. Mr. Whitman.
I ran a nonprofit focused on early childhood education. And the first 4 years of a person's life are critical years for that development, that attachment to the parent, but also that cognitive, social, and emotional growth, physical too. Paid parental leave is a key component of the pipeline of lifelong learning. We need 6 to 12 months for each parent to be able to spend time with that child, help them develop and get the pay they need to support their family too. We are one of the only developed countries in the world that doesn't support that. It's unacceptable, it's common sense, it's common decency. We need to do the right thing for our kids, and the right thing for our families, and the right thing for our country. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Parvizian.
Well, I guess I answered that a second ago, but it is important. As when I had my 3-year-old daughter, I was blessed in my career. I could stay home with her quite a bit, and so did my wife. At the same time, though, we should not have women that are rushing back to work when they would want the opportunity to be with their child. We need to make sure that we protect women's rights. We are in a different society today where we have 2 couples that are working. we need to still give them the ability where they're not giving up their life to their child, because the happier our people are, the better they're going to grow, and the better the company will be.
Thank you. Mr. Corsani.
My goal as a congressperson for y'all would be to let you have more time to spend with your families while not having to worry about making money, making your paycheck at the end of the week. So I do support paternal and maternal leave for all families. If you look at our business ethic, we're the most productive country in the world, and then we don't actually have any real increases in pay or decreases in workload. People are working 50, 60-hour weeks these days, and they're exempt from overtime pay. And I want to see people have more time with their families at the end of the week.
Thank you. Now, I know that some of y'all are about my age, and you probably remember right before I started teaching, which was in 1978, it was back around 75 or so, the principal would come into your room if you were pregnant, would say, you know, you're starting to show, so it's time for you all to leave, because the kids can't be exposed to a pregnant teacher. Thank you. Oh yeah, for real, that really does. About 6 months along. That was in the good old days. Okay, moving right along. That's not a happy one. Okay, this one we'll start with Mr. Jones for this one. What is your stance on the possession, sale, and cultivation of cannabis, otherwise known as marijuana? Do you believe states should make their own minds up regarding this?
I believe the people should make up their minds as to whether or not they want to use cannabis. I believe that there is sufficient evidence to show that that it's no more dangerous than having gun laws and having guns legal. So I believe in the legalization of marijuana. I also believe that people are now incarcerated for something that is legal in most states, in many states, and that they need to be released from prison also.
Yep.
So I believe the legalization of cannabis is something that I would push for in Congress.
Thank you. Mr. Litton.
Yeah, I believe we're on the right path. The states are voting, the people in each state are voting on what they want to do. We'll see how that works out. It seems to be working fine by all accounts. We need to have real criminal justice reform that takes a hard look at marijuana and other low-level drug offenses that are not violent offenses. Do we need to be locking people up? Or if they have addiction, do we need to find them the treatment they need? Or if there's an underlying mental health issue, whatever that is, we need to treat that and not lock people up and incarcerate them as the Harris County Jail today. So I'll wait till people incarcerated for low-level offenses.
Thank you. Mr. Parvizian.
I know a number of people that have had criminal records for having a joint on them, and Judge Poe not giving them a deferred certification at 47 years old are still having to answer that to jobs. I think we're moving in the right direction, but there's also many industries that are concerning. But in the medical industry, we have seen the astounding result to those with cancer, not just in the pain and the healing, but also in the healing of what it's done chemically in the brain. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Corsani.
I support nationwide legalization of cannabis. If you look at the current laws, cannabis is a Schedule I substance, which means that it's more dangerous and has less medical use than heroin, cocaine, and several other drugs of abuse. I think meth as well. If anybody knows anything about cannabis, you know it's not more dangerous or has less medical use than those other substances. Currently, we have medical refugees residing in Colorado from Texas who can treat their seizures, children achieving seizures because of cannabis.
Thank you. Ms. Malik.
I fully support the federal legalization of marijuana. I think it would go a long way to ensuring that we are not disproportionately incarcerating black kids, brown kids, and poor kids. Additionally, I would like to take that tax revenue and do something good with it. They can't even put money in banks. That's ridiculous. We need to legalize it and then tax it. Thank you.
This one will start with Mr. Litton, appropriate for where we are right now. Unions are vital for our country, our economy, and our party. How will you help them?
Yeah, I'm proud to be here today at the local 988 with the Teamsters, and I am proud also to have had the endorsement of the Harris County AFL-CIO Labor Assembly. Unions are a huge and important counter to big business. I would like to help them have those rights of collective bargaining, ensure that they're strong and able to do that, and protect their ability to, in a sense, really help our country to build a pipeline of lifelong learning too. I've been meeting with them on different apprenticeships, curriculum from the crates and traps. There's a real ability to do that, and we'll continue to do that as we come.
Thank you. Mr. Parvizian.
I will listen to labor. I am a champion for Davis-Bacon. I will work hard for working families, and I will work to strengthen Texas's labor unions. The 1099 issue that many companies are skating by, taken advantage of. We need to have more 1099 audits because 99% of the companies out there, I will tell you, are not doing it properly. These H-2 visas that are being taken advantage of, we must protect our team. We need to make sure we have family living wages. We must fight to protect the backbone of our country. Thank you.
Mr. Corsani.
A lot of people say TGIF, but it's actually TUIF. In unions you have a Friday, in unions you have a weekend. I support strengthening unions, and I would like to see the expansion of unionization and the elimination of right to work, which is really just the right to get fired without reason. I used to think that unions were my own idea when I was first starting looking at work, and I thought, wait a minute, no, this has to exist somewhere. That's what unions are. Unions are allowing for collective bargaining and for workplace protections for all working people, and that's the best way in solidarity that we can protect each other as workers.
Thank you. Ms. Marie.
I am a union member. My mom was a union member. I know firsthand how extremely important unions are to this country, to the working class and the middle class. If Congress does not step up to continuously ensure that unions have the right to collectively bargain and to protect their employees, I don't want to see what that America looks like. It didn't look good 100 years ago. We don't need to go back to that. I will always be on the side of unions, and I will always fight for them. Thank you.
Mr. Jones.
There are strength in numbers, and unions provide those numbers for working people. The reversal of Citizens United would be by far the biggest way to help unions. What Citizens United did was actually fooled unions into believing that they could compete with corporate dollars, and they cannot, because that money from unions comes from working people. So we need to protect working people, and by doing that, we need to get rid of Citizens United. I believe that would be by far the best way to help our unions.
Thank you. Okay, this question will start with Mr. Parvizian. What changes would you propose to make to Trump's recent tax bill?
First change, getting Trump out of office is the first change. This tax bill has nothing that benefits working families. It adds $1.5 trillion to the debt. It's actually going to end up costing and could cost working families more money in the long run. My wife, which I wish was here today, she's actually a tax accountant or tax manager for an oil company. And her and I are scratching our head on the amount of money in 10 years that people will lose because of the tax bill.
Thank you. Mr. Corsani.
It's a good question. So where to begin? Like, you have to actually read the bill, unlike people who wrote it. There's so many things to reform. The biggest thing for me would be to guarantee that people have our Social Security and our benefits guaranteed in the future. A lot of this tax act is giving a little bit of a tax break to some people, but at the expense of our future prosperity with our retirement funds and things like that. So I would support, ideally support creating more tax brackets and having wealthy people pay a fairer share to help give better social services to everyone. But in the short term, I want to restore the actual.
Thank you. Mr. Lee.
This tax bill is a shameless money grab, and everyone knows it. I believe we need to add more tax brackets at the top, those loopholes that are allowing the top 1% to skirt paying their fair share of taxes. And I believe corporations should not be allowed to pay only 21% in taxes. Yeah. That's ridiculous. We need to raise that, and that's what I think will happen when the 116th Congress goes into session and works on the new tax bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jones.
Barnett. Actually, I would phase out the tax cuts for the companies and use that same money to hire working people, to put money into our infrastructure, or that will create jobs for people here. I don't believe that companies need additional tax cuts. I don't believe that the 1%, the wealthy 1% need additional tax cuts. 1,500 people in this world own 80% of our wealth. Therefore, we got to stop sending representatives to Congress who are wealthy and have wealthy interests. Thank you.
Thank you. Whoa, getting excited there. Okay. Sign up. Mr. Litton.
All you need to know about this tax bill is the tax bill for corporations were permanent, tax rates for individuals were temporary. That right there just tells you what it was all about. We've got to raise taxes back on corporations. We can't allow that to blow a hole in our federal deficit. That's why how they're going to try to come after entitlements, so we need to be on guard for that right now. We need a more progressive tax system for individuals as well. And we've got to give back that tax break to teachers. I think they got rid of that, didn't they, for
Yes.
teachers? What they did is teachers used to get a tax break for buying supplies for their classrooms. They don't have enough from the state, and we took that away. Let's start with putting that back in there.
Thank you. Okay, this next one's a little wordy, so I'm going to read it off very slowly, and you all can make notes because you only have 30 seconds on how you're going to answer this. First, we'll start with Mr. Corsani. Okay, here's how this goes. First of all, most of you all probably know the Democratic platform is made up of planks. And within those planks, they are decided first by going to your Senate District Convention, and then going on as a delegate to the state convention. By the way, your Senate District Conventions are on March the 24th. Put it down on your calendar. And then it goes on to the national convention. And at that point in time is whenever the platform of the party is decided, made up of planks. So here's this question. I'll read this off real slowly. Are there any planks in the Democratic platform that you don't support 100%, or ones that you wish were included? And the suggestions by the person who wrote this are such as DACA, immigration, voting rights, health care, peace and diplomacy, environmental protection, abortion rights, LGBTQ equality, separation of church and state, public education. So, Mr. Corsani, if you've written down what you want to start with, go right ahead.
Okay, I don't stand opposed to any of the planks of the Democratic Party platform. What I believe is strengthening these planks into actual concrete action steps. The Democratic Party has a lot to offer if we unite behind true, bold, progressive values rather than starting from a point of compromise. That's one of our weaknesses. If we start telling people, you deserve these rights, and we'll create a better society for all of our neighbors, then we show the bills to back it up. That's how we can strengthen our plans.
Ms. Malik.
I believe in all the planks that the Democratic Party have, but I think, and I'm actually really surprised that universal health care is not at the forefront, that we're still sort of toying with how are we going to pitch this to people? That's disingenuous. That's not what voters want. That's what people are tired of. I think it's perfectly fine to say this is what we're fighting for and this is what we want. We are progressives. Progressives are better for America. And that's what we have to stand behind, and that's how we're going to turn out the vote. So that's what I think. We need to be very obvious that we want to fight for universal health care. Thank you.
Mr. Jones.
I say throw the term planks in the fireplace. It is not rocket science to taking care of your people. If we are the party of the people, we need to remember that. We need to stick with that. Be firm with that and stop allowing the Republican Party to determine our platform. We know what our people want. We ask them, they tell us every single day. But you can't keep leaving people out and expecting to have people following you. That is how we're going to lose if we don't get it right. We've got to start protecting the people that we claim to be protective of.
Thank you. Mr. Litton.
I've actually been a delegate to the Senate District Convention and the State Convention as well, to the Democratic Party. I'm not sure if this is in the platform or not, to be frank though, but I would like us to get rid of the Electoral College. I think we have one person, one vote. I'm sick and tired of how the Electoral College works. I want people, the presidential candidates, campaigning across the country for each and every single vote, and not looking at that map that looks red or blue. That's not what our country looks like. Every person's vote should count, and I would make sure the Electoral College is gone. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Parvizian.
I agree with many things on the blank. The one challenge that I have, that I voiced my reasoning on, is how proud we are of the number of voters that we've registered, where we fail on the number of voters we get to the poll. We have to negotiate from a position of strength because we have those numbers. We have the cause, we have the humanitarian behind us. What we don't do is we don't compromise. We need to go advocate, we need to mentor, we need each and every person in here to go out. Let's teach the youth out there to get them out to vote and the reason why. Thank you.
Okay, y'all just keep putting these hard questions in here. I'm glad I'm not answering them. Okay, Ms. Malik. What must we do to stop the erosion of our democracy and grow a civic culture which is inclusive?
I believe we need to overturn Citizens United. People hate voting and they hate their politicians because they know so many of their politicians are so easily bought. Secondly, we need to make voting day a national holiday. It is in most developed countries in the world. That's why we get people out there. Show them we care about our electorate voting and prove that by making it a holiday. Thank you.
Yes, I certainly will. I know it's a hard question. What must we do to stop the erosion of our democracy and grow a civic culture which is inclusive? Mr. Jones.
Again, I believe that we need to stop allowing toxic issues, extreme issues to determine our platforms and to determine how we speak to other people. I believe common respect between whether you're a Democrat or a Republican is something that's going to help us. And we also need to make sure that our leadership represents our people. When you've been in office for 40 years, you have no interest in the younger people anymore. So it's time to elect new leadership that represents the people. Thank you.
Mr. Litton.
If you're on my website, you see the issues part that we want to create a culture of national and civic service. I would like that every young person have the ability to serve 1 year in their country, somewhere across the country in a different space. It could be an early childhood education center, it could be an after-school place, it could be a senior center. Also want to get rid of gerrymandering. Partisan gerrymandering is ripping our country apart. Got to stop it. Texas, too, is a prime exhibit of the gerrymandering and what it does to divide us and tear our country apart. E pluribus unum, from one, many, for many, one. We've got to get back to one country. Thank you so much.
Mr. Parvizian.
We must unite and come together as a society. We may not always agree, but that's okay. In order for us to come together, we need to come together and think about Houston. We got to take the partisanship out of our city. We need to start listening to people. We cannot move forward if we're just going to get ready to hear and get ready to fight. We must start to listen. We are an amazing culture, an amazing group of people that have a lot to offer. And if we come together, we can better the city and slowly be an example to better this country. Thank you.
Mr. Corsani.
I support campaign finance reform, which includes overturning Citizens United. In my ideal world, I'd like to see public funding of elections, where it's not about the biggest bidder, but rather about the best advocate for the people in the community. Another thing I'd like to see is better interaction between constituents and electeds. Currently, our representatives will ignore emails and automated responses and say you have to go through this inbox. I've been running my representatives since I was in 4th grade. That hasn't been a problem until now.
Thank you. Okay, this will we'll go to Mr. Jones first. What are your plans for ensuring a sustainable supply of energy while protecting the environment?
Awesome. I believe that clean energy, renewable energies are our future. We've got a city here in Texas right now that's 100% solar. And I believe that we can do it. We've got to resort to our natural resources. We've got to stop damaging our atmosphere. We have got to create jobs, and all of those things can be done by just focusing and placing our energy on clean energy and renewable sources.
Thank you. Mr. Litton.
Yeah, we provide tax breaks for fossil fuel companies, and we've got to continue those for solar and wind companies too. The wind tax credits are about to expire. Houston is the energy capital of the world. If we don't want to be like Detroit, the former automotive capital of the world, we better figure out how to be the green energy capital of the world too. We've got to do that. We're ready to put a man on the moon, and we can find a way to better, a cleaner, and a greener Earth. Houston can lead that way. Thank you.
Mr. Corbezian.
We don't start by taxing solar panels from coming in. We need to start with change, and many people may not like change. We have to iterate slowly, but we have to think about our future. We have to find that right balance. And we're moving the right direction, except for our leadership in Washington that keeps putting up roadblocks. This tax they put on is stopping our progress moving forward. It's not helping us move to the next stage. We must grow, we must adapt, we must begin to change. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Corsani.
So Texas already leads the way in wind energy, but it's all in West Texas. It's really cool, but it's not here. Right here in the Gulf area, we have the greatest opportunity for energy because we have Gulf wind. Gulf wind is strong during the day and not as strong at night. When you have strong wind during the day, you're creating energy when the demand is highest, and that's not true in West Texas. So as a representative, I would advocate for Gulf wind specifically. Right here, right now, it's a great opportunity for us to lead in energy.
Thank you. Ms. Marie.
I think it's fairly obvious from all of our answers that clean energy and renewable resources really are only way forward. It's the future. We need folks in Congress who believe the science behind climate change and who are going to advocate for legislation that serves to protect our environment and, not compromising on it, because there will be no planet if we keep compromising it away. So that's definitely something we need to fight for in Congress. Thank you.
Thank you. This next one will go to Mr. Litton for the start. With the effects of Citizens United, everybody can boo right. Boo. Okay. Thank you. What are your thoughts on publicly funded elections?
The effects of Citizens United as a candidate as well, I would love to see publicly funded elections. I think these independent expenditure PACs are dangerous. I think transparency is key for a functioning democracy. We have to know people should have to stand up. If they want to assert free speech, then stand up. Assert your free speech. That's the way it should work. We've got to repeal Citizens United, and we've got to move forward in a more transparent, more democratic way for the health of our country. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Corbezian.
We must repeal Citizens United. We must hold our congressmen, our elected officials, accountable. What we need to do is what we're doing today. I'm applying for the job of Congress. I am talking to each and every one of you. The great thing about all our colleagues here, is we hopefully have the same direction, the same mission. It's not about having different values. It's about applying for this job. I want everybody here to hold me accountable. We need to voice our concerns. We need to get the voters out there. Again, it goes back to not registering, get the voters out there and make the change. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Corsani.
I advocate for publicly funded elections. When you think about politics, you're dealing with ideology. You're thinking about philosophical principles and how that applies to your everyday lives. That shouldn't have to do with running a business. That's what a campaign kind of, in a certain sense, tends to be. It takes a lot of money to run a campaign to get the word out about your message. And if that were publicly funded, then it would be fair for all candidates to have an equal voice. And then people can truly vote for what's in their best interest.
Thank you. Mr. Lee.
I believe very strongly that people should be at the forefront of politics. That's why I am running a grassroots campaign. I do not accept money from PACs or corporations. Because I believe unless we get money out of politics, we're only going to have really awful people who keep running for office. I think the first step is repealing Citizens United and letting folks know we do not believe corporations deserve more of a say in how our government works than we do. And that's going to be, I think, one of the biggest things going into 2019 is fighting to repeal Citizens United and making sure that we do get money out of politics and put people at the forefront. Thank you.
Mr. Jones.
I've said it before, people over politics, and I believe that Citizens United has allowed wealthier people to run for office and non-wealthy people not to be able to run for office. I believe that publicly funded elections will put everybody on the same slate. I think that the one good thing that's come out of Citizens United is now that we're more in touch with people in the neighborhoods, and we should be. We shouldn't forget them when we're having elections and campaigns. So to me, to pay someone to go out and speak to someone on my behalf is just not going to do the same thing as it does for me to walk out there myself.
Thank you.
Sherry, last question.
I am so on with you. Yes, thank you. Okay. This one is kind of an interesting question, and I want to thank everyone who wrote questions for us. We just did not have time to finish them all, but I think you'll like this one. This starts with Mr. Parvizian. What distinguishes you from the other candidates?
Question we're asked a lot. My passion, my real world experience, and my real world solutions. Bringing everybody together. I have lived, when we talk about equality, when we talk about unity, I have lived it. I've been in the forefront. I've been fighting for all of this, and my passion is there. My belief in what we do is there. And I will fight for each and every person in here to make sure that we fight for jobs, fight for health care for children, especially children, and we fight for equality for all. I will be there the whole time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Corsani.
So several times, what makes it different? I'm a scientist. In my view, the House of Representatives is kind of like the House of Commons. It's a House of the people, and it really should be representative of all the people in this country. When we have representatives from Houston, we shouldn't just have the same, basically, wealthy, white makeup that is what most Congress is made up. What we need in representation is having people from all kinds of different backgrounds, and all kinds of different careers, and all kinds of different sectors.
Thank you. Ms. Malik.
If the people in Congress looked a little bit more like the people in this room, I think we'd be okay with a lot of the laws they were trying to pass. It gets more and more difficult to pass laws that are hateful and discriminatory when there's a brown person sitting there, or a woman sitting there, or a Muslim person sitting there. Representation matters. And if those of us who are activists on the ground aren't in Congress, nothing will ever change. And I think that's what makes me different. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jones.
I am the only candidate on this stage who has worn a uniform for 25 years in support of our country and protecting our country. That not only makes me uniquely qualified, but so does holding two positions of global interest in the Navy, such as the Equal Opportunity Director for the Navy and also an international strategic planning officer in the Navy. I believe that gives me the unique ability to both reach around the world in our politics and also here in our country. Besides, I grew up in poverty. I can relate to 99% of the people in this country. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Litton.
I've lived in this district for almost 20 years now. We've worked hard and built a coalition and the resources we need to flip this seat, to turn this district blue. We outraised incumbent Ted Poe, and we've been working hard. We've had volunteers knocking thousands of doors, and we've been working hard. We've been earning endorsement at AFL-CIO, Tejano Democrats, and others. We're working hard to be sure that we bring everybody together and we lift up our community's diversity as a strength and lead our country forward. That's what I'll do. I believe I can do that better than any other candidate on the stage. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, now's the chance for them to give their last pitch to you for 1 minute. So we're going to start with Mr. Corsani. One minute.
Hi everybody, my name is Ali Corsani. I'm a scientist and a working person just like many of you. What I want to see is a bold, new, progressive vision that focuses on the future and not just on reactionary politics. Trump sucks, but he's temporary. At the end of the day, we need to look at our future crises and opportunities. It includes climate change, Medicare for all, education by educators, criminal justice reform, as well as ensuring reproductive rights. Check out my website, tx2.rocks, R-O-C-K-S, no.com, and share your views with us. More than anything, we talk a lot about politics here on the stage, but more than anything else, I want to hear from you. I've already had several emails from the community asking questions or just stating their ideas of what they want to see in DC going forward. What we need is, for a congressional representative, is real change and real progress. And that's what I hope I can provide to you as a representative.
Thank you. Ms. Malik.
I'm trying to stand far away from this guy. My name is Silky Malik, and I'm running for the U.S. House of Representatives in Congressional District 2. How do we flip this district? We can't just ride the blue wave. Empty slogans and catchphrases are not enough to turn out the vote. We need to run candidates who are unapologetically bold and progressive and honest. Speaking for 30 minutes and speaking without substance is not how we turn out the vote. We need to be on the ground, and we need someone who's going to be honest and who's running for the right reasons. I'm running because I'm tired of politics as usual. And I'm running because the system that gave us Trump is still going to be there after he's out of office, and I want to change that because I don't want this to happen again in 20 years. So I hope you'll consider voting for me in March, because you know, when I get there, I'll fight for y'all every damn day. Thank you.
Mr. Jones.
I'm Darnell Jones. I'm running for Congress in the 2nd Congressional District of Texas. I'm a 25-year retired naval officer with proven leadership skills and abilities. I have worked globally, and I've worked with people in our U.S. government. I believe that I could be a great representative for Texas too, because we are the most diverse district in this state. I also believe that having served as a diversity champion, as a director of equal opportunity, allows me to be able to enhance that diversity and equality in our district and representation of our people. I believe that common sense and common decency takes a common person, which I am that common person. I believe also by listening to the voices of the people of this district and getting out the vote, as I have been doing since May of last year, and as I will continue to do with the CWA endorsement, which is the Communications Workers of America endorsement that I just got yesterday, will also allow me to do a good job in this district. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whitney.
Thank you all so much for being here tonight, for spending this time with us. We really appreciate it. My name's Todd Litton. I got in this race last May to take on Ted Poe. Everybody said, oh, it's going to be a hard race. You can't beat Ted Poe. He's been around there forever. Guess what? We outraced him for 2 quarters in a row. He got out. He's coming home, folks. We went to repeal and replace Ted Poe. We repealed him. Now I'm here to replace him, right? We got in to build a coalition to flip this seat and to turn it blue. We've got almost 30 precinct share endorsements in this district. We built a coalition of volunteers and hundreds of supporters, hundreds of individual supporters who have supported our campaign. They have invested in our campaign because they know we have a pathway to victory. We have to win this seat. We cannot afford to lose this. We have to win this seat to turn our house blue, to put a hard check and balance and put Donald Trump. I'm the candidate who can do that. I appreciate your support. I need your support. I need your vote. Come walk with us. ToddLinton.com. We've knocked on thousands of doors. We'll knock on 1,000 more. We're going to win this seat. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Parvizian.
Donald Trump and the Republican leadership today in D.C. are taking this country down the wrong path. It's not the path my father was proud to live here and come here and see. We need to take this country back. We need to come together. We need to protect our women and our children. There's no reason that this sexual abuse is going on any longer. I will fight to keep America safe and at peace. I will fight to ensure that every person has equality. I will work hard for working families. I will support our children, support health care for children, support our veterans, our seniors. I will protect our environment. My name is H.P. Parvizian. I hope to earn your vote on March 6th. Thank you all very much.
Do not move out of your seat for the next 5 minutes I have you. Okay, the bell's not going to ring till then. Okay, that concludes our time for questions, but before you go, we have a couple of announcements now. I want everybody to get that card out that's in your program that says something about Harris County Democratic Party sustaining membership. By the way, raise your hand if you're a sustaining member. Woo, that is good. Me too. Okay, also, we have a number of candidates here. Would every candidate here who is a member of the coordinated campaign please stand? When you see a judicial candidate that has a blue button on, or hopefully candidates who are non-judicial, for the judicial candidates, it means that they gave $3,000 to the coordinated campaign. Last time in 20, yes, thank you. In 2016, it took $1.5 million to run that campaign that got us 160,000 votes more than the Republicans. Okay, just let you know. Otis, are you behind me?
Right here.
Okay, Otis is going to do the pitch for the money. So get your little sustaining membership stuff out.
A pitch. Well, you know, hopefully this works out. Hi everyone, thank you guys so much for coming back. Thank you. Thank you guys so much for coming out here. You know, as you know, for us at the party, it was our town talk tonight, and it's really important for the voters to be informed. We have 5 great candidates up here. Really excited about them come in the March primary and in November. But as you guys all know, that we've been starting a campaign at the office that it all starts here. It all starts in Harris County. This is ground zero for flipping Texas. And if we flip Texas, we flip the country. So no more stories about Russia, no more stories about collusion, no more stories about crazy people in the White House. And it's really important, but for us to launch in Harris County, we need your help. We need your help with sustained membership. And there's envelopes that were in your programs and the packets that you had on your sheet. It's real easy, $10 a month. $10 a month to help us to fight to make lives better. That's it. Or one-time payment of $120 for the whole year. Remember this, we are fighting to make lives better. And with your resources and with your help, we can do that. Do you think we can do that? Yeah. All right. Let's do it. Let's do it with our wallets. And I have some couple announcements to make as well. Remember, early voting for the primary starts February 20th. So come out, early vote for these guys. Also, the primary is Tuesday, March 6th. That's really important because that is where we start. We start with our primaries and get everybody to come out and vote for our Democratic candidates that are on the ballot. Tomorrow is our JRR kickoff party. We're really excited about that. It's tomorrow from 6 to 8. It's at the Deluxe Theater in the 5th Ward, 3303 Lyons Avenue. Please come to that. We will have gubernatorial candidates there. We will have a lieutenant governor candidate there. Come and meet the candidates that are looking to represent you statewide, especially in the governor's mansion, because we are trying to get rid of Greg Abbott. So really, please come out. Also, individual ticket sales for the JR dinner and the after party, which Department is coming back with a vengeance. We'll start off tomorrow night as well. And the dinner, of course, itself will be Friday, February 16th at the Marriott Marquis. It's going to be fun. Nancy Pelosi, Minority Leader, is going to be our speaker. We are giving out 3 awards that night as well. The Barbara Jordan Breaking Barriers Award. That's going out to a Houstonian that has continually fight to break barriers. The Yolanda Black Navarro Cisse Puede Award, that's given to a person that is fighting for immigrant rights and is looking to expand the American dream. And the Steve Mawson Award, Steve Mawson in the Arena Award, which is given to an activist who's doing their thing on social media, giving financially, or doing whatever it is for the cause. So you don't want to miss that night. And then the JR after party, like I said, is coming back with a vengeance. I can make that promise because we're coordinating it with the Harris County Democrats and the Houston Young Stonewall Democrats as well. That'll be 9 from midnight. It's going to be fun. This is our launch to a fun year. We're going to flip Texas, return to Texas blue. Let's start now.
Otis, how many of our candidates tonight are sustaining members of the Harris County Democratic
Oh, that's
Party?
a great question.
Or will commit to becoming members tonight?
All right, I like that. Putting the pressure on them. Also, these candidates and at the party, we need help block walking, we need help phone banking. Dollars and resources are not the only things. Volunteering. You can visit our website at harrisdemocrats.org. /volunteer. Same thing with donate. You can go on our website. Great resources on there to help out. So we need all hands on deck because we are in go mode. And like I said, it all starts here, and we are fighting to make lives better. Thank you guys so much for coming out. There's a lot of excitement in this room. And let me just say this, for CD2, don't let anybody ever tell you that this is a conservative area. Look at the crowd right here. We can do it. If they can do it in Wisconsin, where Trump won by +17 in a Senate district, and we can flip by +10, we can do it here. Right? All right, appreciate it. Thank you guys.
Registering to vote ends on February the 5th, okay, and the candidates here, first of all, thank you so much for all your time and effort, and we want you in front of this for pictures afterwards. So, thanks for coming, good night, and have a safe trip home.